So I've stitched the binding, pinned it very close to the edge, did the running stitch, and I have folded it over and done the two ends. I will show you how to do this, but there really isn't any way that I can show you how to do the ends unless I do it this way. So you will have these ends finished, cut close. You stitch right up until the end on this side through all the layers. So do I have it close? Yeah, that's good. So now I stay the stitch, just do a knot, and another knot, there. So remember, on the two short ends, your binding is cut even with the rug. On the long ends, you leave that much on each side before you do it. Now you open your binding, and what happens is you fold it over, and really that's too much. That's too much. So I'm just going to have a small bit. Just going to cut it off, just by eye. Not too close, because then it becomes a problem when you fold it. So I remove my pins. And I turn towards the back, pull. Generally you have to pull it a bit. And do you see that other fold, how it comes even? That's when you fold it over. So, let me see. Can I get close? There. So you see that sticking out a bit? You need to just put that in. The idea is you fold, fold, and have it nice and neat looking. And I'll just stick a pin in there for now. The idea is you want these, where am I? The idea is you want these little pieces to be in. There. You can cut those off, but you can run into trouble where you're going to mess up your binding and you would need to take it off if you're not careful. So I'm just going to do that, and then I will go and put some stitches there just to hold it. But for right now, I will just pin it. This folds very nicely, folds down, and for this I'm going to use the zoom. I think probably work better. I think that's good. I knot my thread. Binding is really very simple, very easy. Especially if you use thin cottons. Really stitching it on the machine is more difficult. Let's see. You notice these are my stitches from the other side, where my running stitches. This is where you make sure that it's just on that edge. That's where you do your stitches. on this one, I'm actually going to start up in here. Can you see that? Let's see. There. I'm going to start up there, and I'm just going to do a few stitches to put that together. Just on the outside. Of course, the thread knots. I'm going to have to take my pen out to do that. Just on the outside fold. Good. See how that's coming out? I'll just use my pen to get it in. Oh my goodness. Honestly. See how it comes together? Very nice. And this should be down just a bit to match the other one. There. How am I doing with the video? It's really difficult to stitch and watch where your hands are on the camera. And of course I talk to myself when I stitch. Forget I'm on the video. Oh. There. Last stitch. Now, we are going to hand stitch this, and remember, this is your line that you need to cover, those stitches on the back. So there are a couple ways to do that. You can just do an ordinary, you can see there, an ordinary running stitch. But of course, being a quilter, once a quilter, you're always a quilter. I just use a hidden stitch. I go in and take just the back of the fabric and bring it out. Oh, that's too large. In the last video, my time ran out before I really finished, so I want to just recap a bit of what I've done. I've stitched the binding on the Net and Jake. It's to the end. I've folded it under, as you see. Folded it back down so it's nice and neat. I found the zoom was too high on the last part of the video, so I wanted to do it again. Then you stitch, whether it's just a running stitch, and a running stitch is just, not a running stitch, sorry, just a regular stitch. It's just in and making little stitches, top, bottom, making stitches. that. Or the stitch that I like to use, which is I just catch a little bit of the fabric underneath and go very close to the edge. It's sort of a hidden stitch, and do make sure that these are your stitches from the front. You want your binding to come down over those. And I just go in and come out. See, don't really see the stitch. Just catch a little bit of the fabric. And once you learn how to do this, it's just not one stitch at a time. You can do a few. It's difficult for me to do this and hold it on the camera. Okay. See if I can do a couple on this one. There, I did 2 on that one. I can usually do 3 at a time. Okay. That one, it's pretty much invisible. This one, you have your stitches showing. I also wanted to to say that if you are doing a binding and let's say you would like to do a feather stitch on the binding to secure it, do your binding on the back, fold it over, and then do your feather stitch. You don't necessarily have to complete your binding and then go over it with the feather stitch. You can just, as we did with most of Knit and Jake, for the feather stitching you can just do a basting stitch and then go through. So if you're doing a decorative stitch, you would put your, let's see if I can get a piece of binding. And okay, if you was doing a decorative stitch, you would stitch your binding here, and it would be then over here, and fold it over on the front, and then you would do your decorative stitch. Just the opposite of what we're doing now. Generally, the reason you do your binding this way is because you want these stitches showing on the back and not on the front of the rug. So that's just a bit of recap for that. I do want to mention while I'm on the feather stitching with Knit and Jake, this is feather stitching with pennies. This is something that I will show you later. This doesn't belong here. But this is just a one strand of embroidery floss with a feather stitch. So it's much different. Very nice and feathery. Okay. So you can also do a binding on a penny rug as well as applique. And it's really the same process. You do need to cut your base, and I will show you how to do that. But it's the same process. It's just pinning them together, stitching along, and you would stitch close to the penny. You see, close to the penny, with the corners. They're rounded, and generally what I do is I go around and just tidy it up, because there are no stitches stayed there, so there's no chance of anything raveling out. So I'll just go along and tidy it up, round the corners, and I do a few, let's see if you can see it, I do a few little cuts, not down to the edge, just so that it helps when you turn the binding. You do, however, need to connect the binding. And I purposely did this wrong so you could see. I'll have to take that out, or I'll just throw the rug away maybe. I hate redoing things. When you put your two pieces together, this is very thin fabric, so you can just butt them. You don't have to do the angle. But you notice it's coming apart. When you put your two pieces together, just a regular stitch, a regular running stitch is not enough. You need to do some back stitches. The other thing you should not do is cut, especially if it's the thin fabric that ravels. Do not cut this close to the edge. Leave a bit extra, because that's raveling out now, and really to redo that, I don't know if it would work. So then I will show you how to do the measurements for that, but then it's just a simple process of going like this, folding, and pinning, and there it is. And I have started stitching here. It goes around the curves very nicely, and it's very simple to do. So that is how you would put a binding on a penny rug. It's exactly the same process as Ned and Jake, or a rectangle rug, square rug, whatever. It's just you need to cut your corners a bit, and you need to, wherever that was, you need to be careful and mindful of getting this very secure, because your stitches will come open, and do not cut very close because it's going to ravel.